Hello, this is Cheryl and Claire. Welcome to NeuroTRYvergent, an experiment in living and working without the mask. It's a podcast where we discuss navigating career change and just existing in the world as a neurodivergent human. I'm Cheryl, an ADHD adult, moving from being a professional nanny to a positive discipline trainer and parent educator slash consultant. And that's Claire. She is a late diagnosed ADHD adult and founder of Wizards Way Career Path Mapping. Her business is a combination of career coaching for neurodivergent folks, plus e-courses and workbooks. If you'd like to learn about us, our links are down in the description. Each week, we pick a topic and talk about the initial thoughts, the pros and cons, and the balance of each concept. Then try a 2-week experiment and discuss how it went. The following episode. Last week's experiment topic was spirituality.
Yeah, and in a little bit more detail, Cheryl asked us to do a spirituality translation. So think about and you can watch that episode if you want. Her language is much better than mine's gonna be right now. But so what is your God? Who are your saints? And what is your afterlife slash purpose?
Yeah, yeah, and you can replace any of the names with any of those with anything else you want, right? Like you can look back and through my thing, and if it's something like if one of the other things I brought up speaks to you more, then feel free to do that. Or religious issues, like feel free to not do it at all. That's fine too.
Yeah. So do you want to share yours first or?
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
share mine. Um, so since I already kind of did mine and spoke about it, I think I'm just going to talk a little bit about um, you can get so in the post show, this next post show coming up, we'll have more information. You'll be able to see kind of our discussion a little bit easier because we talked a little bit more about, we did find some differences and we talked a little bit more. And so I think I wanted to just clarify a little bit, like I think there are some titles that do kind of explain the way I look at the world a little bit more. And it's like kind of a humanist, like human centered. It is human centered in that, like, I guess it's person centered or sentient centered, maybe. I don't know. But like, for me, like if there was another race that another species out there that wasn't human, that was like could organize systems and does the same thing that our brains do, then like, or better or whatever differently, then I would change my mind about that. But like for right now, people are here and now, and they matter. And so that's kind of like very important to me, how humans live. So that was one thing that I felt. And I love animals, and like I like them better than humans in a lot of ways, which kind of goes against what I just said, but you get it. And then the other thing was nihilism, um, but not in like a depressing, sad kind of way, because I did have that. I think a lot. I had to come to grips with a lot of that, but it's like nothing matters. We put we're the I always say that we're the meaning makers. And I think that's just really powerful for me. And it does kind of center around people um, a bit, but that's just kind of how I feel like, I don't know, here, now, Earth, what's going on here, biodiversity matters to me, and all of that other stuff. So I just wanted to explain a little bit more about where my thought processes, and that I'm nihilist, but I'm a positive nihilist. I don't know if that's possible, but I
I
am.
love it. I love
So
it.
yeah, that's mine. I just wanted to explain a little more.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So a couple things. You might have noticed we're in the same room And so I can't like not acknowledge that. It's probably pretty obvious, but I have to ask you to do something really quick because can you show them your bracelet? Okay, so she has a very sparkly, in one of my favorite colors, bracelet, and then a lovely Ono roller. If you've never played with that fidget, I highly recommend. And so if you see me like looking down at her apparently belly, I'm looking at her bracelet. It's very, very shiny.
Like
Yeah.
her cat was very interested in it as well, and we were joking that she's a cat.
Yeah, so there's a joke that all cats are autistic, and I said, well, cats would probably say that all autistics are cats. So, anyway, okay, so wow, off topic, but I'm having as per usual Claire fashion, like I get like on camera, and then everything else becomes incredibly interesting. So, and I think eye contact.
Would you like me to remove it? Do you want me to remove the base?
No.
Okay.
I love it. I love it.
Okay.
I just don't want it to look
changes.
like creepy. Like
I know.
So let me answer the questions in a very literal and short fashion. Yours was lovely, and mine is much more this, and this. So here's my post-it. What is your God? Possibility, the unknown, connection. Who are your saints? Animals, elements, natural processes. What's your afterlife and purpose? I don't know. I don't need to know. Purpose, just show up in the here and now, which I heard a little bit of that for you too. Mm-hmm. So that's my very flat delivery of that content.
Yes.
But I'm quite pleased with that. So there you go. That was an experiment. Again, we always say this, and I think like the only episode early on that had a bunch of comments was perfectionism, so that tells you something, right? But I'm going to say it again. I'm going to keep saying it, and just so in perpetuity that like if you have experiences with this, if you do an experiment, and if you're willing to share anything you get out of it, like that's incredible, and like honestly want to know other people's experiences. So please feel free to always do that, and it's kind of a nice place because you're not like you're pretty safe here, right? Our community's nice and small. Mm-hmm. So okay, let's talk about this week's topic.
Yes, indeed.
Do you want me to introduce it, or do you want to introduce it? We didn't super plan it out, so
you introduce.
Okay,
because you know a little bit more about it.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about the concept of, that's really bright, spiky profiles, right? And there are some different interpretations of what a spiky profile might mean. The language is pretty popular and showing up quite a bit in neurodivergent communities. We use the Color Me NeuroSpicy version for coloring the spectrum. So I could highly recommend that. They've created some really amazing content, and so we'll link that below. So my on-the-fly definition of a spiky profile is looking at a handful of ways of experiencing the world and marking the intensity of what that is for you, right? And what most, I don't want to say research because it's not necessarily like in research format, but in general, when folks that are neurotypical do these kind of assessments, they get much less spikes, much fewer spikes, and that these experiences with these various characteristics are closer to the center. And so again, if you go check out this for yourself, you'll get better visuals on it. But here, so that's what I'm talking about, that little one right there, right? Like with that, where there's less spikes coming out versus the other one where there are more spikes. So we kind of wanted to, this is something that I'm really interested in, and Sheryl was willing to do hers. So we just kind of wanted to talk about our experience with the Color Me NeuroSpicy Color Your Own Spectrum, aka Spiky Profiles. So we might do this a little bit differently. We're gonna hold to our format mostly, but I think it'll be useful. We both decided ahead of time it might be useful for each of us to share 3 or 4 things that we discovered in creating this, before we talk about the pros and cons, or maybe it'll all integrate naturally. We'll kind of see what comes out.
Yeah,
right.
that sounds good to me.
So yeah, you can kind of go off of script a little bit.
Yeah.
Not that there's a script, but
off of plan.
Off of plan.
Don't worry, I will.
Yeah. All right.
All right. So I just did mine just now. And there are a couple of things that I kind of knew right away and other things that I thought were interesting. So my big spikes were time blindness, masking, difficulty prioritizing, and then rejection sensitivity. Those were all really big spikes for me. At seeking repetitive behavior was not a big spike for me at all. And I mean, introspection issues, I wouldn't know if I had introspection issues, is how I felt about it. I was like, I don't think so, but I don't know. But yeah, so it was just very interesting to see where where it mostly was, and it was mostly in, I guess that he said like the ADHD range or whatever. But I thought it was very, very cool way to kind of look at things, and sometimes for me, I guess this is kind of going into the pros a little bit, but it was just really nice to be able to do this and be like, oh, yeah, I do have ADHD. I still have imposter syndrome around my ADHD. I still don't believe I belong here in like ADHD communities, but to be fair, I have imposter syndrome around a lot of things, so it's not special. It's not, ADHD isn't special. It's just something that happens. But this was very helpful for me always to like have visual things and other things that help me like recenter myself around stuff. Just be able to say like, no, Cheryl, you definitely have ADHD. I mean, you've been diagnosed and like you talk about it all the time, and it is you started a podcast about it. Like, I think you're in. I think you're in. Don't worry. I think you got it. So yeah, and then let's see. The other thing that I thought was interesting was I don't think you're going to be able to see it, but maybe. Oh yeah, you can. I put little stars, and they were my like depends stars. So like object permanence was one that was really high up there too. I have issues with realizing that things or people exist outside of what I'm doing currently. That doesn't mean I don't love you, everyone. It just means that my brain has gone and done something else. However, that is depends for me, right? So like if it's something that I'm getting either a dopamine hit from or my current like hyper focus target, it's all I can think about it. So it's again, it's like it's not like a lack of focus as much as a difficulty moderating that full focus, which I think I've heard a lot of people talk about with ADHD. It's like I have all the focus in the world. I have object permanence if it's the ice cream in my freezer. I know exactly where that is at all times. That's a dopamine hit for me. I know exactly where it is. Drug dealers know where their drugs are. It doesn't matter where it's just like this is me. Like, that's just how my brain works. So that's my thing. So I think the pros are that it's a really helpful tool to get to learn yourself a lot more. The cons are it's limiting, just like every other tool that you'd use. So
nice.
That's it.
All right. So looking at my profile, so I guess, I don't know. I'm just really thinking about that imposter syndrome, like comment. And I think like part of being like an older person or like approaching being an older person, I don't know. I always say that and then like 70-year-olds laugh at me. So
Yeah.
it's all relative. But is that like that has gone a lot less for me?
Thank God.
Yeah, hopefully that's a journey most folks are on. I don't know that that's true. Um, but I think being like relatively new towards discovering my own diagnoses is like I think there is still a little bit of that around.
Mhm.
So and then also like I love any kind of metrics or measuring tool or like anything. Like I love all the psychometric tests that you have to take and the autism assessments and like it's just I don't know. It's probably because one of my special interests is self-reflection. So there's that. So looking at this, where I'm scoring like 11 out of 10 on, I'm joking, but like where I go really, really high, not surprising to me. So needs routine, sensory overload, seeks repetitive um, behavior, special interest, hyperfixation. Hello, autism. Sensory sensitivities, like all those are to the edge or more. And then I think maybe like the ADHD side has always been a little bit more elusive to me. And I've heard a lot of ADHD folks talk about this, like because they kind of can cover each other up or compensate for each other. I don't have the object permanence. I don't have the time blindness. And I'm one of the rare humans that doesn't really experience the executive function challenges.
Mhm.
And I have theories about why that is, but my impulsivity is through the roof, right? And I've gotten that. I mean, I've even got it under control, and it's still showing up almost at the top, like compared to when I was like younger. Dopamine seeking, and then hyperactivity of body and brain. Like it is, and I try to show up here really authentically. And at the same time, I try to calm my body down when we're filming because if I just was like, I want to be, I think it could be really distracting and hard to watch. So, and I've been told that it's really distracting and hard to watch. So those are like my biggies that really stand out to me. Um, I think I'm going to really agree with you on the positives and the negatives. So again, um, with the positives, like I've spent most of my life really feeling like an alien, trying to fit in another planet's culture. You're talking about sentience earlier versus peoplehood, and the other part.
Mhm.
I was thinking of the Becky Chambers books because she uses that word,
Oh.
sentient versus person. That's a total aside. Sorry, but like if I was a sentient on another planet, like that's what life has felt with like for my almost my whole life until a couple of years ago. And so the more I can learn about, oh hey, like your brain's just wired different. I know that wired term is used a lot, but your brain, you just actually are processing life and you're executing life and you're doing all the learning, you're observing, you're experiencing in a different way. It's just so incredibly affirming for me. And then it also gives me an in towards communities of folks that experience similar things. And we're not all the same, but it's like that to be in a virtual room of people and to talk about the horror of going to the grocery store, the horror of going to the grocery store. And instead of people looking at me like I'm an alien, people are like nodding their heads. I remember the first time that happened and I was just like, I'm gonna bawl. I'm gonna just start crying right now. So that's one of the things I think like doing some sort of assessment, whether it's this one or another one, um, is a positive. And then it also helps me see, and hopefully we'll do another episode on this. It helps me see my strengths and I'm going to use the word disabilities, right? Which is, I don't know that I necessarily agree with that word, but it helps me see where I'm challenged, where I'm quote unquote disabled, and where I'm like extra strong. and why the evolutionary process really needs people like us. And no wonder we freaking exist. So my cons, I don't experience cons from this. And the folks that I work with, I know some other people, especially if you're hyper literal, could lock in on one or two of these. And it could feel, like you said, limiting, or it could feel like boxing someone in, right? And not allowing you to change and grow. So, yeah. All right. Let's react to each other.
Okay.
But I didn't write anything down, so I'm like, check.
I'll start.
Yeah, go. You go first.
Yeah. So I really I love seeing like yours and mine next to each other, and like I think that this is, I guess this is also kind of useful, but like a pro, because it's like I can understand how you experience the world a lot better.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you knowing that my
Same.
object permanence is super high can help. Maybe you understand why I am terrible at texting sometimes, right?
Like the challenge with that.
The challenge with that is very difficult. And like I understanding of your like sensory overload and your need for routine, get it why it's like, oh, why won't she just like stop what she's doing and come hang out with me, right? Like, and it's like that's not what. Yeah, exactly. It's like I'm just gonna throw a giant ADHD wrench into the into the routine and the plan, right? Like, so I, I think that that's something that I noticed about this too, was like being able to understand people's perspectives. I mean, even if you filled this out as a neurotypical person, I feel like you're gonna get spikes. The spikes might not be as like whatever as big, but or as obvious, but like they're there, and it's just a really good communication tool for sharing experience.
Yeah, and I think like that's another thing that I'm glad you said that, because like one of the things I think that it's like really hard to feel understood by holistic, especially folks, people that aren't autistic and also neurotypicals, is like the intensity. It appears, I've been told, this is mind blowing, but the intensity of everything is so much less. And so it's really hard to understand what we're experiencing. Like what I love about your profile and a lot of my ADHD friends is it's really highlighting that rejection sensitivity, dysphoria, and for whatever reason I am blessed to not have that, and maybe not, maybe there's things I would learn from that, but it is just the thread that shows up, and it shows up in a lot of autistics too, but it shows up so strong, and like just to have like, oh my God, I just have so much compassion for that, and it helps me just understand folks a lot better. So it's like it's just interesting to, and like sensory stuff is the big one for me. Like like I can't talk to you because the lights are too bright, right? Or I can't think because it's too loud, or like there's just like that is just like, and folks that don't have that experience, like that must seem really bizarro. Like, oh, and I mean obviously you're just being too sensitive. Like that's like yeah. So I love that. I was just kind of curious, like, are there any that we are similar on? Masking.
Yeah, I figured that.
Hello, female.
Yeah, exactly. Masking. Let's see.
I'm decent similar on prioritization.
Difficulty
Maybe
prioritizing.
I'm more impulsive than you, but that one's pretty close.
Yeah. I think I think that might be part of my masking thing that I've internalized, and why that impulsivity is down a little bit more is just because like I lived with a lot of very impulsive people, and I learned that impulsivity is, I felt when I was growing up needed to be a lot more
deliberate or
Yeah,
yeah.
I had to rein that kind of stuff
Okay.
in. And
That's
also, I
interesting.
was like, I had a lot of anxiety when I was little.
Hmm.
So I always was like kind of scared to do things.
Yeah.
We had very different
Childhoods.
childhoods.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
You know,
And yeah.
so I think that that was something where my impulsivity, I mean, and it's not like my impulsivity is just with things that are like, that don't, that don't necessarily affect my life all of
All the
that
time.
much,
Yeah.
you know?
I feel like this is a good like segue transition into thinking about the balance,
Hmm.
right? I think you're kind
Hmm.
of like naturally doing that. So like
Hmm.
how might you use this um in your own process, in your own growth, in your own
Yeah.
journey,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. I
to
think
find balance?
for me, I think it's just that, right? It's like understanding the time blindness of things, even just the words. Like for me,
Mm-hmm.
so one of the things I do a lot of like positive discipline work and things like that. And one of the things they talk about is building an emotional vocabulary. So with kids, we want to teach them the names for emotions, just like we would teach them the ABCs, their colors, their numbers, whatever. Because if you have the names for the emotions that you're feeling and you understand what that feels and looks like you're going to be able to communicate around that so much easier. And that's how I feel about like the
Yeah.
like outside little circle things is just like, oh, okay, this is a way that I can understand and talk about what I'm feeling right now, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
know I'm high in rejection sensitivity, and I've done a lot of work to like moderate that, but
I'm still here. Keep talking.
yeah, you're
I wanted
good.
to grab something.
Yeah, moderate that in my own way. Like I've learned how to deal with that a lot, but it's still there. It's still very present, and like I can look at this and say, oh, okay, yeah, yeah, that is really strong for me, or oh, that's my rejection sensitivity dysphoria, or what I call my Rumpelstiltskin demon, because I kept on forgetting which letters they were,
I
so I
mean, to
call
be
it my.
fair, R.S. Rumpelstiltskin,
That's how I remember it.
you know, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Rumpelstiltskin demon. For some
demon.
reason, that's why
It's so good.
yeah.
So good.
So, and like also understanding, I don't know. Yeah, that's just I think the balance with this and understanding that it's not everything, right? Like we were talking about this
Mhm.
where these kind of things are hard for me because it just and I don't know if you guys feel this way and you're ADHD, let me know. But it's like I feel so different moment to moment, and I think
Mhm.
that's like part of the impulsivity and the
Mhm.
and like object permanence kind of thing where it's like object permanence, but like thought permanence and memory impermanence. Like I forget a memory. I don't know if that makes any sense, but like
Yeah.
I forget to remember things that I do and have done.
Mm.
So when I'm looking at this, I can get hyper focused on a couple of things, and then they look bigger in my brain than they otherwise would.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the balance for me.
Nice. And I just wanted to share what I knew I was gonna have to get. So when during the intro, I kept looking over there because I became obsessed with these definitions and I was like, I'm gonna want those. I'm gonna want those. And I've been trying to like not want those, but I did. I want them. So I had to go get them. If you go with this version, when you do this, it does come with handy breakdown of
Hmm.
all, it gives like definitions for each thing. I will share that there are several versions of this out there. This is one I really love, Color Me NeuroSpicy, but there's some other versions that are more kid focused and use more kid language. Um, so yeah, I just wanted to share that when you're talking about the
Hmm.
terminology. I like these terms because they feel very descriptive and I'm very nerdy about neurodivergent stuff.
Yeah.
So I like it, but I can see how if language is a challenge or a barrier or a whatever, like it might be interesting to have a different version. So I just wanted to share that there is a in this version. There's also like in this version there's also like a thing where you can have your family do it,
Yeah.
which I can imagine would be really useful if your family is interested and willing. So for me, I think that the really, especially the ones that, like I said, kind of go to 11 and are reaching all the way to the end, those are my spoon takers, right? Like those are the things that I have to think about every day, because if not, by 6, 7 o'clock in the evening, I will just be so done and just about to blow, which is not really fair for the people around me. So there's that. And then I think like I also like looking at the other ones, like, oh, hey, like I don't really experience that. And so those are things that I'm like, I want to go meet somebody who does, right? And I want to hear what their experience. I mean, I kind of want to hear everybody's experience on everything, but that's a little too much. So, like, I like that some of the ones that maybe are lower for me feel like really good learning opportunities for talking about other people's experiences. We shut the door, and now the cat's doing walkbys. So we might hear a meow. She's like, damn it, why didn't you shut that door?
I want to get at her bracelet.
So funny. Yeah, I warned you about my distractibility at the beginning. So yeah, so I think kind of looking at the extremes, using it as a way to help regulate myself and using it as a learning opportunity for the things that I don't experience.
Yeah.
And getting to hear a lot of different voices on that would be the thing that I think is most valuable. And most balancing. Any final thoughts?
I don't think so. I think that's true. I was looking at some of yours, and mine are very high in some of the things that you're very low in. So hi. You know, and it's so interesting to see that where you know, where things can be kind of, it's interesting to see like where all of these go. And I don't know. It's, needs routine, man. Sometimes I wish I was like that.
Right, but it also might be, so there's this like, I don't know if you've experienced this, people on the internet, but it's been talked about in a lot of my groups that for whatever reason, autistics and ADHDers are attracted to each other. And sometimes we drive each other nuts, right? But there's something there, because so many folks that I talk to are like, yeah, my partner's ADHD, you know, like it. Yeah. So that would be interesting to see some statistics on that one. But from an experiential analysis version, like there's an attraction, you know, and maybe that's part of it. Like we share the being different.
Yeah.
And we share the like intensity.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a lot of characteristics too that are shared by both.
Yeah.
Right. And we have complementary skill sets in some ways, right? Where we can kind of get some things done in a better fashion when we do it together. So I think the experiment for this week is to, and we've kind of always already done this, so maybe we'll go check out a different version.
Do that.
Is to do a version of a spectrum, right? Of your own spiky. See how spiky or not spiky is your profile, and just kind of do it and then sit with it, you know. And how does that feel? And do you agree or do you disagree?
Yeah.
And is it useful to you? So, and we'll go look for some other versions.
Yeah, totally.
And fine, maybe we'll do the little kid version. That'd be fun.
The little kid version.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah. So that's what I'm going to say is our experiment for the week. And I am Claire, and you can find me, I'm going to put it all below, at my website, which I just forgot the name of, and that's okay. Wizards-way at mikekajabi.com.
There you go.
And then at Wizard Claire on Substack and LinkedIn. And Cheryl.
Yeah. SherylTheNanny.com. That's where you can find me. Find all my information. Get in touch with me if you want. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, or comment here.
Yeah.
And we will respond to that.
So. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.